There are moments in life when stillness feels heavier than any storm, when the quiet that should soothe the heart instead sharpens its edges. Some people step into calm the way others step into darkness, not because they fear the light, but because peace itself exposes the thoughts they spend years trying to outrun. In a world that praises serenity, it becomes difficult to understand the hidden truth, that for some souls, chaos is not the enemy of peace, but the escape from a deeper unrest. They find themselves unsettled not by noise, but by the silence that leaves them alone with their unspoken truths. And in that unfamiliar quiet, the mind becomes a landscape where every emotion grows louder, every memory stands unfiltered, every shadow stretches long enough to touch what was once buried. Calm demands presence, and presence is a weight many hearts are not yet ready to carry. It pulls at the pieces that were easier to ignore in motion, forcing people to confront the fragments of themselves that they stitched together too quickly. In chaos, the mind feels occupied, absorbed, distracted. But in calm, the internal world has no competition, no shield. The mind that has grown used to turbulence learns to rely on it as a form of numbness. Not the kind that dulls pain entirely, but the kind that keeps one from feeling too deeply, too suddenly, too unbearably. And so chaos becomes a familiar room, a place where discomfort feels safer than the vulnerability of peace. Some people have lived through seasons where calm was never stable enough to trust. They learned early that silence could break into storms, that gentle moments could be followed by unexpected losses, that stillness was merely an interlude before another impact. With time, the nervous system begins to confuse peace with danger, equating calm with the anticipation of the next blow. And once this pattern sets in, the heart becomes conditioned to brace itself, always preparing, always scanning, always expecting something to shift. This anticipation becomes a habit, a reflex, a survival strategy that remains long after the threat has faded. Chaos feels like home not because it is safe, but because it is predictable. There is an overlooked truth about human nature. People gravitate toward what is familiar, not necessarily what is healthy. So when someone finds calm unfamiliar, they return to the noise, the conflict, the emotional turbulence, not out of desire, but out of instinct. The mind resists what it has not learned to trust, and trust, especially emotional trust, is a slow-growing tree that struggles to root in soil watered by uncertainty. For those who seek chaos, the turbulence they choose is often easier to manage than the quiet they avoid. Chaos is external, observable, tangible. Calm is internal, reflective, intimate, and the intimacy of peace can feel more terrifying than the unpredictability of disorder. When calm arrives, it does something unusual. It unclutters the external world and illuminates the internal one. The thoughts that once whispered in the background now speak clearly. The insecurities that felt manageable under distraction now come forward. The emotions that were numbed by noise begin to surface. And suddenly, calm becomes a mirror that offers no escape. Some people fear calm because it reveals their emotional honesty, the truth that hides beneath the version of themselves they present to the world. Chaos allows them to postpone that confrontation. Calm demands it. There's also a psychological longing woven into the hearts of those who seek chaos. They crave intensity not necessarily because they desire turmoil, but because intensity makes them feel alive. When life has conditioned someone to expect unpredictability, emotional intensity becomes woven into their identity. Without it, they feel disconnected from themselves, as if the world has turned dim or muted. They search for something, anything, that ignites the spark they mistake for meaning. The mind confuses stimulation with fulfillment, equating turbulence with significance. And so, when calm begins to stretch too long, the heart feels restless, as if something essential is missing. People who seek chaos often carry a deep desire for control, even if it appears contradictory. Chaos allows them to predict their emotional terrain because they know how to navigate difficulty. They know how to survive sadness, disappointment, conflict, or pressure. These emotional storms, while painful, have become familiar companions. But calm is unknowable, untested, unproven. It leaves them without the emotional tools they have sharpened over years of coping. In chaos, they feel prepared. In calm, they feel exposed. There is an unspoken loneliness in people who thrive in turbulence. The world around them often misunderstands them, believing they enjoy drama or seek destruction. But beneath the surface lies something more delicate, a heart that has not yet learned how to breathe softly, a mind that does not know how to rest without fearing it will lose itself, a soul shaped by experiences that taught it to trust movement over stillness. These individuals are not drawn to chaos because they love pain, but because pain is the language their emotional history speaks fluently. Peace feels like a foreign dialect, meaningful but difficult to understand. And yet there is a quiet tragedy in this psychological pattern. The desire for chaos often masks a deeper longing for stability, a longing for a calm that feels safe enough to inhabit, gentle enough to trust, steady enough to believe in. But longing alone does not rewrite conditioning. The mind clings to old patterns even when they hurt. The heart repeats familiar cycles even when they exhaust. Healing requires unlearning, and unlearning requires courage that is hard to muster when one's internal world has been shaped by unpredictable terrain. When calm is present, people who seek chaos often feel an urge to disrupt it, even unintentionally. They may create conflicts, stir emotional tension, overthink, self-sabotage, or push others away. This is not a reflection of their character, but of their survival instincts. Sabotage is sometimes the mind's misguided attempt to regain control. It transforms uncertainty into something familiar. If peace feels temporary, one might rather end it on their own terms than wait for it to break unexpectedly. This pattern is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of someone who has lived through too many unpredictable endings. The psychology of seeking chaos is also rooted in the desire to feel something intensely. Calm can feel emotionally flat to someone whose identity has been shaped by deep emotional waves. They might confuse peace with emptiness, stability with stagnation, quiet with absence. But calm is not the absence of meaning. It is the space where meaning can finally breathe. The heart that has grown accustomed to storms needs time to learn this truth. Stillness feels uncomfortable not because it is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar. A strange way, chaos can also feel like a form of companionship. When someone has spent years navigating internal storms, the turbulence becomes part of their emotional landscape. It becomes a rhythm they understand, a familiar hum beneath the surface of their daily life. Letting go of chaos can feel like letting go of a part of themselves, even if that part has caused pain. Calm demands a new identity, a new rhythm, a new way of existing, and transformation always carries a quiet fear. There is a softness hidden beneath the people who seek chaos, a softness they rarely show. They often carry deeper sensitivity than others realize. The chaos they gravitate toward is not a reflection of their strength, but of their fragility. It is easier for them to break through noise than survive the vulnerability of gently unfolding emotions. They face the world with fire because they fear how quietly they might fall apart in the absence of it. Calm becomes a question they do not know how to answer. It asks them to trust, to loosen the grip around their defenses, to allow life to unfold without force. It asks them to believe that stillness does not mean danger, that quiet does not mean abandonment, that peace does not mean the calm before a storm. It asks them to rewrite stories that were carved into their bones long before they understood the language of trauma or uncertainty. But underneath every impulse toward chaos lies the possibility of transformation. The heart that seeks chaos is also the heart that longs for peace. The mind that fears calm is also the mind that yearns for rest. The soul that feels unsettled in stillness is also the soul that dreams of a moment where it no longer has to fight its own shadows. Acceptance begins when one realizes that chaos was once a survival mechanism, not a destiny. And healing begins when the heart learns that stillness can be a sanctuary, not a threat. The journey from chaos to calm is not a straight path. It is a slow unfolding, a gentle negotiation between the past and the present. It requires one to sit with discomfort without interpreting it as danger. It requires learning to breathe without waiting for impact. It requires believing that peace is not a temporary visitor, but a home that can be built piece by piece, breath by breath, moment by moment. Calm does not demand perfection, it asks only for presence. And presence begins with the courage to stay, even when the stillness feels unfamiliar. For now, the truth remains simple. Some people seek chaos not because they are broken, but because they are healing. They are learning slowly and quietly to trust a world that once taught them to fear its softness. They are discovering that calm is not the absence of emotion, but the space where emotion finally finds its voice. They are realizing that chaos was once a shield, but it no longer has to be a home, and in that realization, the heart begins to open, gently, hesitantly, beautifully, toward the possibility of a peace that does not frighten but frees. There comes a quiet recognition that chaos is not merely external turbulence, but an internal dialogue with fear itself. The mind that seeks conflict in calm is conversing with shadows it cannot yet face openly. Every disruption, every impulse toward agitation is a signal, an unconscious attempt to assert familiarity over uncertainty. Calm exposes what has long been buried beneath habitual motion. The heartbeat that thrived on unpredictability finds itself questioning what it truly desires. There is an irony in this, a subtle paradox. The same heart that craves chaos also craves relief from it, yet it cannot reach for that relief without first confronting its own conditioned responses. Some people approach peace with resistance, not malice. They do not seek suffering for its own sake, but for the intensity it provides. Life storms have trained them to interpret stillness as an invitation for introspection, and introspection can feel threatening. The mind becomes a room filled with mirrors, each reflection a question long avoided. What do I feel when there is nothing to distract me? What is left when the familiar noise fades? These questions are not meant to be answered instantly, yet the impatient soul presses against them, seeking the comfort of movement instead of the vulnerability of presence. There's a psychological phenomenon that explains this tension. The human brain craves dopamine, the chemical of anticipation and novelty. Chaos, conflict, and emotional turbulence provide surges of dopamine that simulate vitality. Calm, by contrast, provides subtle biochemical rewards that the brain may not immediately recognize. This misalignment between physiological expectation and emotional reality can cause restlessness, a feeling of dissatisfaction without cause. The body may ache for stimulation even when the mind longs for quiet. The soul feels torn between instinct and aspiration, oscillating like a pendulum between the safety of known turbulence and the vulnerability of untested peace. People who gravitate toward chaos often possess acute sensitivity. Their nervous systems are finely tuned to detect disturbance, emotional undercurrents, or even potential disappointments before they arrive. This hyper-awareness, while valuable in some contexts, makes calm feel suspiciously empty. A quiet moment is interpreted as preparation for the next inevitable disruption. Trust does not form overnight, it is cultivated slowly, like a plant learning to root in unpredictable soil. Without that patience, calm can feel like an illusion, a temporary pause before chaos inevitably returns. The desire to disrupt peace is not born of cruelty, but of a miscalculated form of self-preservation. There is an intricate interplay between fear and longing. Fear convinces one that calm is dangerous, that stillness leaves the heart exposed. Longing whispers that peace is attainable, that rest can exist without betrayal. These opposing forces coexist within the same consciousness, creating cycles of behavior that may seem irrational to the outside observer. Yet the internal logic is consistent. Chaos is predictable because it has already been endured, while calm is unpredictable because it is unfamiliar. The tension is not a failure of will, but a reflection of adaptation to past experiences where unpredictability dominated existence. Memory plays a significant role in shaping this pattern. When early experiences teach that quiet is unsafe, the brain encodes caution as instinct. The heart that has been conditioned to anticipate upheaval begins to associate stillness with vulnerability. Every calm moment becomes a test. Will it hold or will it fracture? Those who repeatedly navigate emotional turbulence develop a form of survival intelligence, a keen ability to anticipate and respond to instability. Yet this intelligence, honed through necessity, becomes a limitation when confronted with serenity. The skill that once protected becomes a barrier to experiencing lasting peace. There's also an element of identity in this psychology. People who seek chaos may define themselves through intensity. Their self-concept is entwined with engagement in emotional storms. Without turbulence, they risk losing the contours of who they believe they are. The intensity of chaos validates existence, confirms the capacity to feel, to act, to endure. Calm, by contrast, offers no external proof of vitality. It demands that identity shift from action to being, from drama to presence. The transformation required to inhabit peace is not a matter of choice alone. It is a deep rewiring of perception and habit. The societal lens often misinterprets this behavior. Those who seek disruption in calm are labeled as reckless, attention-seeking, or unstable. Yet these labels rarely capture the complexity beneath the surface. It is not desire to harm, but a coping mechanism honed over years of navigating internal unpredictability. Understanding requires more than observation. It demands empathy for the hidden rhythms of the mind, the unspoken negotiations between fear and yearning, survival and desire. When the external world criticizes, the internal world often retreats further into familiar chaos, reinforcing the very patterns that outsiders misjudge. Psychologically, the urge to disrupt calm can also be tied to self-worth. For some, peace may feel undeserved. Life's early lessons may have taught that comfort is fleeting, that stability is a privilege reserved for others. In this context, creating chaos becomes a form of self-punishment or self-validation. The emotional turbulence proves resilience, endurance, and existence in a world perceived as unforgiving. The paradox is striking. The very chaos that appears self-destructive is simultaneously protective, an assertion of being in a reality that once felt uncontrollable. Emotional regulation is often a hidden struggle behind these patterns. The capacity to tolerate unaltered quiet requires emotional literacy and the ability to self-soothe. Those unpracticed in these skills may unconsciously seek stimulation to prevent emotional dysregulation. Chaos, therefore, is a tool to manage feelings indirectly. Conflict, drama, and intensity create a structured unpredictability where emotions can be expressed within an acceptable framework. Calm removes that framework, leaving emotions raw, unframed, and uncomfortable. The mind, trained by survival rather than introspection, instinctively fills the void with familiar turbulence. There is a subtle beauty in understanding this behavior. Recognizing the connection between chaos-seeking and the pursuit of internal equilibrium reframes judgment into empathy. The patterns are not arbitrary. They are echoes of past experiences, protective instincts, and unconscious negotiations with vulnerability. What appears externally as disruption is internally a dialogue with fear, trust, and the longing for peace. To witness this is to acknowledge the complexity of human emotion, the depth of survival intelligence, and the nuanced relationship between external behavior and internal need. Over time, it is possible to recalibrate the mind's response to calm. Exposure to sustained, gentle peace gradually teaches the nervous system that stillness does not equate to danger. The body learns to release tension without expecting the next disruption. The heart begins to trust that quiet can be restorative rather than threatening. And the mind, which once relied on chaos as a constant stimulus, discovers the subtle richness of reflection, clarity, and introspective presence. This process is slow, often punctuated by relapse, yet it offers the possibility of freedom from the compulsive need for external turbulence. Human connection plays a pivotal role in this transformation. Calm becomes easier to inhabit when there is trust in oneself and trust in others. The presence of someone steady, predictable, and non-judgmental provides a mirror through which peace can be safely experienced. Emotional safety is contagious. When the environment offers stability, the individual can experiment with being still without triggering defensive, chaos-seeking behaviors. Relationships, therefore, are not simply social constructs, but scaffolds for internal transformation, providing the containment that allows the heart to learn new rhythms. Even as the journey toward calm unfolds, there remains an acceptance of chaos as a part of life. The goal is not to eradicate unpredictability, but to navigate it with awareness rather than compulsion. Chaos, once understood as a learned survival strategy, can be engaged consciously rather than as a reflexive pattern. This discernment allows for intentional action, distinguishing moments when turbulence is necessary from those when it is habitual. The liberation lies in choice, the ability to inhabit calm without fearing it, and to engage chaos without needing it to feel alive. Philosophically, this psychology reflects a broader truth about human resilience. People are not defined solely by the patterns they inherit or develop in response to trauma. They are defined also by their capacity to observe, reflect, and gradually transform those patterns. Seeking chaos is not an eternal sentence. It is a stage, a lens through which the psyche negotiates vulnerability. Peace is not a fixed reward but a skill, cultivated through patience, reflection, and courageous engagement with the self. In this, the tension between chaos and calm becomes not a contradiction but a dialogue, an ongoing negotiation between what has been learned and what can be embraced. There is a quiet wisdom in observing how humans navigate these extremes. Chaos teaches resilience, alertness, and endurance. Calm teaches trust, introspection, and surrender. Both are necessary teach. Each providing insights that the other cannot. The paradox is essential. The heart that fears stillness will one day recognize that stillness holds more strength than turbulence ever could. The mind that clings to intensity will eventually understand that presence is a form of power, subtle but unyielding. The soul in its journey learns that life's richness is found not in avoiding one state or another, but in understanding the dialogue between them. In the end, people who seek chaos and calm are not lost. They are in the process of discovery. The turbulence they invoke externally mirrors an internal negotiation that is complex, profound, and deeply human. Each wave of intensity is both a shield and a signpost, pointing toward what is yet to be understood, integrated, and accepted. The longing for calm exists quietly beneath the surface, waiting for recognition. The capacity to inhabit stillness, once developed, transforms chaos from a necessity into a choice, allowing the heart to experience both life's storms and its soft interludes with equal grace. There is a gentle irony in this psychology. The very chaos that once seemed essential is eventually seen as optional. The turbulence that dominated existence can coexist with serenity once the mind learns to trust itself in the rhythm of life. The person who once resisted calm begins to recognize it not as a threat, but as an invitation. The heart, trained to anticipate disruption, discovers the unhurried pulse of presence. The mind, accustomed to constant stimulation, finds a different clarity in reflection. And the soul, long tethered to intensity, realizes that freedom resides not in evasion, but in conscious engagement with both chaos and peace. Ultimately, this journey is a testament to human adaptability. It is a reflection of the psyche's remarkable capacity to learn, unlearn, and relearn. To seek chaos is paradoxically a path toward understanding calm. To fear stillness is paradoxically a step toward mastering presence. Every restless impulse, every internal conflict, every self-created storm is a layer of experience that, when reflected upon, becomes a foundation for growth. There is no shame in this pattern, only a profound opportunity to transform survival mechanisms into conscious choice, turbulence into insight, and fear into quiet strength. There is serenity in acknowledging that humans are never entirely consistent. The mind will oscillate, the heart will falter, and impulses toward chaos may arise even in the presence of calm. This is not regression, but the natural rhythm of a consciousness learning balance. Acceptance of this rhythm itself becomes a form of peace. The journey does not demand perfection, only presence. It does not require mastery, only awareness. And awareness, gently nurtured, has the power to turn fear into understanding, agitation into reflection, and restlessness into profound tranquility. In the end, those who seek chaos and calm are mirrors to the complexity of human emotion. Their behavior is not erratic, it is a dialogue between past conditioning and present possibility. Their restlessness is not rejection, it is an invitation to explore the unfamiliar landscapes of stillness. Their turbulence is not cruelty, it is an expression of the intelligence that learned to survive uncertainty. And within this intricate pattern lies a quiet hope that the mind can learn, the heart can trust, and the soul can finally inhabit a world where calm is not an enemy, but a home waiting to be claimed. The heart that once feared peace can, in time, recognize its subtle power. The mind that once needed chaos can, in time, embrace presence as a form of vitality. And the soul that once clung to turbulence can, in time, find freedom in knowing that serenity is not absence, but an equally potent rhythm of existence. Chaos and calm are no longer enemies, but companions in the human journey. The dialogue between them teaches resilience, awareness, and ultimately, the quiet strength of being fully present in a world that will always contain both storm and stillness. And in this recognition lies the profound human truth. To seek chaos and calm is to search for familiarity in unfamiliar spaces, to cling to the known when the unknown beckons, and to navigate the fragile bridge between fear and longing. But to witness the transformation, to allow the heart to gradually rest, is to realize that calm does not diminish life, it deepens it. Chaos is no longer the only teacher, peace becomes a guide. And through this delicate interplay, the psyche discovers its capacity for grace, its potential for presence, and the enduring possibility of embracing life in all its intensity, softness, and quiet beauty.